All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 TV show in the history of the universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite novels of all time, and that is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know I've been reading and reviewing all the Stephen King novels in order of publication. So we're quite a ways down the list now, because 11/22/63 is probably over 3/4 of the way through his books. So we're getting towards the end. Now, normally I show you the hardcover version of the books that I've got, and then the paperback version of the books I've got, and then I talk about the audible.com version that I listened to. Well, this is the only copy of the book that I have. I also have it on Audible, but I did not listen to this book on Audible when I reread it. I just read the book. Normally I give a review of the audible.com versions. I just didn't do it this time. And I don't have a mass market paperback copy of this. This is it. This is the only copy I've got. Now let's talk about the cover first, because we always review the covers, because I know, I love graphic design and illustration, so probably a little bit one of the more busy covers that I've seen on a book cover. Which one is the title up here? Is this the title? What's going on? It's like, okay, it's kind of confusing. The backside, and then we've got even more stuff. So, I mean, it's all right. It's all right. It does a good job. Not angry about it, not super thrilled about it. However, if you watched my top 5 Stephen King books of all time video, you know that this book finished high on that list. Eventually I'm going to do a list of all 90 Stephen King books and rank all 90 of them in order. But this definitely was in my top 5. It's just one of the best Stephen King books ever. It's just perfection. It's absolutely sheer perfection from the first word to the last. And Stephen King gets a lot of crap because people don't think he finishes books very well, that his endings are a little flat. This, my friends, has one of the best, most climactic, most sort of heartwarming and heart-touching and emotional and satisfying payoffs of all of the Stephen King books, and probably one of my favorite endings of any book I've ever read. I just love everything about this from the start to the finish. What is it about? Well, it's about the JFK assassination that took place on 11/22/63. Sort of. It's more than that, though. This is a time travel story. Time travel stories are hard to do right, and I think this is one of the few, other than maybe Back to the Future, that was done just absolutely spectacularly. It starts off with our main character, Jake. He is a teacher, and he teaches, sort of creative writing, things like that. And he, one of his students turns in sort of this essay about how he was abused as a child. The essay is very it hits really hard. It hits Jake really hard, and he just can't stop thinking about it. And at the same time, and it takes place. The essay that the guy writes is about how he was abused as a child. His father was an abusive guy. All of these awful things that took place in the past. Now, the other story is that the other story that's going on. There's several parallel stories taking place in this book. The main parallel story beyond that is Jake stumbles upon a time travel portal that takes him back in time into the 1960s, and so he travels back there. Now, he knows that the JFK assassination is coming, and he wants to prevent that, so he goes back in time, and several things happen. He ends up meeting the family, the abusive father of the guy that writes the essay that really touches his heart. He meets that family back in time. There's plots that go along with that. There's also side plots that sort of take place in the It universe, because this takes place in Derry, Maine, and well, part of it takes place in Derry, Maine. A lot of it takes place in Texas and Dallas around 11/22/63. But we get a lot of callbacks to the book It, which is pretty fun. We get to see this drama play out, be about this abusive man and his family. But most importantly, we get the JFK assassination plot, and our main guy Jake, when he goes back into time, he wants to stop this assassination. He runs into Lee Harvey Oswald. We get Stephen King, you can clearly tell, did a ton of research on the JFK assassination, all the conspiracy theories surrounding that, everything about Lee Harvey Oswald. He researched everything about the JFK assassination. He researched, and all of this stuff that he put together. And I was super happy that this just didn't turn into another JFK conspiracy theory book. That Stephen King sort of stuck to the nuts and bolts of what we kind of all have accepted, that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone shooter, maybe just got lucky, whatever. That's the plot that we sort of stumble into here. There's not a lot of conspiracy stuff. It's just, hey, Lee Harvey Oswald was the guilty guy. How do we stop him? But beyond all that, the more important themes and things that come out of this book are Jake's relationship to a woman named Sadie that he meets as he time travels back into time, and develops a relationship with her, and her sort of story, where she's kind of got like and I don't want to get too much into it, but this book deals with themes of abusive relationship. Lee Harvey Oswald's abusive relationship with his wife from Russia. The abusive relationship that sort of is the springboard for the whole story that was written down in that essay at the beginning. And then Sadie and the relationships that she has in her own life, and how can Jake, sort of as a time traveler, sort of intervene in all of these plots and help these people, not only help save JFK's life, but also the lives of these other people that are in these abusive relationships. And it's just an absolute perfect blend of all of these stories that just interweave and intermingle in this time travel back and forth. And just every minute that goes by in this book that you can feel the tension ramping up, and you can feel that there's heartbreak at the end of it, and you can feel that there might not be an ending that we expect. And then when Stephen King does do all of his fancy tricks and reveals at the end, we're even more surprised, and our heart is even more touched, because it went in ways that we didn't think it would go. I mean, I was expecting certain things to happen, and then they kind of were twisted and subverted in ways that I was really actually more pleased with. And it was just great. Absolutely fantastic from start to finish. I think it's probably his most perfect book, most tightly plotted, best characterizations. Now, there are some books on my list of top 5 Stephen King books that probably finished higher than this for other reasons, like nostalgia and just overall just grand scope and epicness. But this is his perfect book. This is the book that, I mean, I've read every Stephen King book once, most of them twice, several of them 3 or 4 times, and a handful of them like 10 times. This one is getting to be one of those ones that I just keep returning to and rereading just because it's poetic and lyrical. It's got themes that I really like delving into, and the history behind all of the time travel elements, and how Stephen King just nails all of it, and sort of just, I could gush on and on. I think I like it. I think I like this book. 11/22/63, one of the most solidly written novels to come out in a long time. One of Stephen King's bests. It's not a horror novel by any stretch of the imagination. It's just almost a perfect literary work of fiction. I could keep going, but I will just leave it at that. 10 out of 10, solid 10 out of 10. If you want to see my top 5 Stephen King novels of all time, just type in my last name, Durfee, and top 5 Stephen King ranking, and you'll see the video. You'll see where this one fits on that list. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.